What if I told you that worry is just a habit, and like any habit, it can be broken? You weren't born anxious. You learned it through years of overthinking, chasing control, and tying your peace to things you can't command. And here's the truth. Worry doesn't protect you. It paralyzes you. It doesn't prepare you. It drains your emotional energy, clouds your clarity, and keeps you stuck in imaginary fears. The Stoics saw this 2,000 years ago. They believed that your happiness isn't determined by events, but by how you choose to perceive them. They taught us to break the cycle of emotional reactivity, to reclaim our peace, not by fixing the world, but by disciplining the mind. This video will show you how to stop worrying the Stoic way, not by ignoring your problems, but by facing them with quiet strength, emotional discipline, and inner calm. You'll learn daily Stoic rituals, powerful mindset shifts, and practical ways to protect your energy and build lasting peace without needing anything to change around you. If you feel overwhelmed by uncertainty, you're not alone. But you don't have to live like this. You can train your mind to become your strongest ally. So take a breath and stay with me, because this may be the shift you've been needing. Like this video and subscribe for more Stoic strategies to master your mind and live above worry. 1. Recognize that worry is just a thought, not reality. You wake up in the morning, and before your feet even touch the ground, your mind is already racing. A quiet panic hums beneath the surface. What if I forget something important today? What if they don't reply? What if everything I've built starts to fall apart? These aren't voices from the outside, they come from within, disguised as caution, but fueled by fear. And you believe them, because they wear the mask of logic. But what if you paused just for a moment and asked yourself, is this actually happening, or am I just imagining it? Worry isn't a reflection of truth. It's a projection of uncertainty. Like a film projected onto a wall, it plays scenes that haven't happened, with scripts you didn't write but somehow believe. Your body reacts as if danger is real. Your breath shortens, your jaw tightens, your chest closes in. You brace for impact, even though nothing has hit. And here lies the trap. The mind convinces the body to prepare for storms that may never arrive. Over time, this becomes your default setting. Not because life is dangerous, but because you've rehearsed danger daily in your imagination. The Stoics saw this clearly. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." That wasn't poetic exaggeration, it was precise diagnosis. Most emotional exhaustion doesn't come from what's actually happening. It comes from what might happen, from worst-case scenarios crafted in silence and fear. You fight invisible battles, then wonder why you feel tired before the day begins. But there is a way out. Not by ignoring thoughts, but by identifying them for what they are. Just thoughts. Not truths, not commands, not fate. Just electrical signals wrapped in emotion. Once you recognize that, you create a small but powerful space. A space wide enough to breathe in, step back, and see clearly. You begin to understand that not every thought deserves your belief. Not every mental movie needs your emotional investment. Awareness, quiet and sharp, is the first key to breaking the loop. Imagine sitting in a theater alone. The screen lights up. On it, a scene plays out where everything goes wrong. You lose the job. You say the wrong thing. People walk away. Fear rises in your chest. But now imagine realizing you're the one playing the film. You can choose to stop it. You can leave the theater. The scene isn't real. It's just a story. The moment that truth lands, peace walks in. That's what the Stoics practiced, a form of mental clarity training. To pause and ask, is this happening now, or is my mind inventing it? And if it's not happening, you don't owe it your energy. You owe your energy to what's real, to what's in front of you, to the moment you're actually living, not the one you fear might unfold. If you want to stop worrying, start with one shift: separate thought from reality. Throughout your day, when anxiety arises, name it. This is just a thought. Say it aloud if you must. Then breathe. Then observe. The world hasn't ended. Nothing has collapsed. You are still here, grounded, capable, and free to act on what is, not react to what isn't. This is how peace begins. Not with control, but with clarity. Not by fixing the world, but by changing how you see it. Thought by thought, breath by breath. 2. Practice the discipline of perception. It starts with something small. A glance, a delay in someone's reply, a meeting that ends without a clear answer. Your mind begins its silent work, filling in the gaps, assigning meaning, turning a neutral moment into a story of rejection, failure, or betrayal. You feel the shift, not in logic but in emotion. Your stomach tightens, your chest gets heavy. You start overthinking, not the event, but your own interpretation of it. The worst part? You don't even realize you're doing it. You assume your perception is the truth, when in fact it's just a lens, and often a distorted one. This is where most worry begins, not with what happens, but with how we choose to see it. The Stoics knew this. Epictetus said, "It's not things that disturb us, but our opinions about things." What you see isn't what's real, it's what your mind makes of it. The pause in conversation, your mind calls it disapproval. The silence after your message, your mind turns it into rejection. The shift in someone's tone, your mind labels it as a warning. But none of those are facts. They're judgments. And judgments, when unchecked, quietly become your emotional reality. Imagine you're wearing tinted glasses. You forget you have them on. The world seems darker, not because it is, but because of the lens. Most people live like that, reacting to events they've colored with fear, past wounds, and old insecurities. This is not clarity. This is perception on autopilot, and it's the birthplace of unnecessary suffering. Stoic perception isn't about becoming emotionless. It's about becoming aware. It's the ability to pause and say, "I noticed this thought, but is it accurate?" You begin to train your mind to separate signal from noise, to respond to what is, not to what might be. And when you do, the emotional chaos that once felt uncontrollable begins to slow. You reclaim space. You move from reaction to response, from assumption to awareness. The power in perception lies in ownership. You can't always change what happens, but you can always examine how you see it. You may not control people's words, but you can control what meaning you assign to them. You may not control outcomes, but you can choose your framing. And in that small, quiet shift, your mental piece is rebuilt, brick by brick. Next time anxiety creeps in, try this. Stop mid-thought. Don't argue with it. Don't fight it. Just observe. Say internally, "This is a judgment, not a fact." Then breathe. Come back to your senses. What do you know for sure? Not what you fear, but what is true. That single moment of clarity can save you hours of spiraling. It may feel small, but it's powerful. Because once you stop reacting blindly, you start living wisely. The discipline of perception is not glamorous. It doesn't come with applause, but it frees you. Slowly, it makes your mind a place you can trust. And in a world where everyone is quick to assume and quicker to react, that inner stillness becomes your edge. You see clearly. You respond with calm. And instead of living in stories your fear created, you begin to live in truth. That's where real strength begins. Quiet, grounded, unshaken. 3. Accept what you can't control. Focus on what you can. You try to plan everything. You check the weather before you step out, reread your message before sending it, play out conversations in your head before they even happen. You fix, tweak, adjust. Because deep down you believe that if you just manage it all perfectly, nothing will go wrong. But life doesn't work that way. You can be careful, considerate, and prepared, and still, things fall apart. Someone misunderstands you, a deal breaks, a storm hits anyway. And then the spiral begins. You feel like you failed. You think you could have done more. You worry, not because you enjoy it, but because you're trying to hold on to something that was never yours to hold. The Stoics saw this as a core source of suffering, confusing influence with control. Epictetus said it plainly, some things are up to us and some are not. Yet most people live like everything should be under their command. The weather, the stock market, other people's feelings, the past. But when you attach your peace to what's outside your reach, you give the world the remote to your emotions. You're calm when things go right and anxious when they don't. It's not freedom. It's dependence. Think of your mind like a river. The current is strong, unpredictable. You can't stop it, but you can choose how you stand in it. Some people try to block the water, resist every wave, and get pulled under by the force. Others learn to float, to let go of the fight, and stay light enough to be carried. That's what Stoic acceptance looks like. Not weakness, not giving up, but releasing the illusion of control. It's saying, I don't need to manipulate everything to protect my peace. I only need to take responsibility for how I show up. This isn't about apathy, it's about clarity. You still take action, but you no longer tie your well-being to the outcome. You speak truth, but you don't panic if you're misunderstood. You plan, but you stay flexible. You do your part, and then let it go. Not with frustration, but with trust. Trust that what's beyond you is not your burden. That your strength lies not in domination, but in alignment. To apply this daily, build a simple practice. Each morning, draw 2 mental columns, what you can control and what you can't. Your words are yours, your effort is yours, your reactions are yours. But the response, the result, the ripple effect, that belongs to life. And life does what it does. When worry hits, return to the left column. Ask yourself, am I focusing on my role or trying to rewrite what's already out of reach? That one question recenters your mind. It breaks the loop. It frees up emotional energy you've been spending on impossible battles. When you let go of what doesn't belong to you, something changes. You become calmer around chaos. You stop flinching at every shift in the wind. You stop chasing certainty, because the goal isn't to control everything. The goal is to stay unshaken when you can't. And over time, as you protect your energy and sharpen your focus, you'll notice a deep, quiet peace rising from within. Not because everything's perfect, but because you stopped trying to hold the whole world in your hands. You finally chose to carry only what's yours. 4. Choose voluntary discomfort. So real life feels lighter. You try to keep life smooth. You avoid conflict. You skip difficult conversations. You reach for comfort when the day turns sharp. More food, more screens, more distraction. You tell yourself you're managing stress, but deep down, you're just shielding yourself from discomfort. And every time you do, your threshold for pain lowers. You become more fragile. A simple delay feels like disaster. A quiet disagreement feels like rejection. Life doesn't get easier. You just become more sensitive to its weight. The Stoics didn't see discomfort as a threat. They saw it as a teacher. Seneca practiced sleeping on the floor, eating plain food, wearing rough clothes, not because he needed to, but because he refused to let comfort make him weak. He understood a quiet truth. The more you expose yourself to manageable difficulty, the less power fear has over you. You don't train for chaos by running from it. You train by facing it on your terms. Imagine your life as a muscle. If you never let it stretch, it tightens. If you avoid resistance, it weakens. But when you introduce tension with awareness, the muscle grows stronger, so does your spirit. That's the core of voluntary discomfort, not self-punishment, but controlled preparation. A way to strengthen your emotional resilience without waiting for the world to test it first. This doesn't mean seeking suffering, it means creating space for friction, where you train the mind to stay calm in temporary challenge so it doesn't collapse under real pressure. A cold shower in the morning won't ruin your day, but it might teach you how to breathe when things get hard. A quiet meal without your phone won't solve every problem, but it will show you how to sit with yourself without distraction. These are small things, yes, but they shift your posture in the face of discomfort. They teach your nervous system how to stay grounded, how to reset your stress response with calm repetition. Worry shrinks when your tolerance for uncertainty grows. Fear fades when you've already met discomfort and learned you can survive it. You stop flinching at every shadow. You stop negotiating with fear before every decision. The world doesn't feel so sharp anymore. Not because it changed, but because you changed. Your spirit becomes more anchored. Your breath stays steady, and peace becomes less about safety and more about stamina. Begin with one small practice today. Wake up and choose one thing that adds gentle tension to your routine. Skip one indulgence. Walk without headphones. Have the hard conversation instead of postponing it. Don't explain yourself when silence speaks louder. Each act reminds you, I can do hard things and remain calm. I can feel discomfort and not panic. I don't need the world to be soft if I become strong. The Stoic doesn't hope for ease. He prepares for adversity, quietly, daily, with intention. He sharpens his mind the way a blade is honed, not when he's in battle, but long before. That's how you stop worry from controlling your life. Not by numbing it, but by training for it. So that when the unexpected arrives, you don't run. You breathe. You center. You act, not in fear, but in strength you've already rehearsed. 5. Cultivate inner stillness through daily rituals. There are mornings when you wake up and feel like the day has already outrun you. Before the coffee brews or the sun fully rises, your mind is cluttered. Unfinished tasks, unanswered messages, unspoken worries, all rush in like a crowd without faces. You haven't said a word, yet your body is tense. Your breath is shallow. You're already exhausted, and the day hasn't even started. It's not chaos around you, it's chaos within. Stillness isn't something the world gives. It's something you build, brick by brick, moment by moment. And the more you neglect it, the louder the noise becomes. Most people wait for peace to arrive, like a delivery that's running late. But peace doesn't knock. You have to make a space for it, and you have to do it daily. The Stoics understood this long before the modern obsession with mindfulness. Marcus Aurelius, an emperor surrounded by war and politics, wrote to himself each morning, not to impress others but to align his own thoughts. That's not a luxury, that's discipline. Your mind is not a storm to be tamed with force. It's a garden. And if you don't tend it, weeds grow. Resentment, anxiety, distraction, they thrive in neglect. But when you plant habits of presence, even if simple, they grow into roots of resilience. A few minutes of quiet reflection in the morning is not wasted time. It's an act of self-respect. A daily recalibration of your emotional compass. You don't need elaborate routines. You need anchors. A sentence that steadies you. A breath that slows you. A simple question like, what truly matters today? This is not about control. It's about clarity. Because when you start your day grounded, you're less likely to be pulled in every direction. You become less reactive, less scattered, less drained. And from that centered place, you respond to life, not with panic, but with presence. Stillness doesn't mean withdrawal. It means depth. When the world gets loud, your rituals remind you that your peace doesn't depend on silence outside. It depends on strength inside. That's how you protect your energy, not by escaping, but by returning, again and again, to breathe, to intention, to alignment. Try this tomorrow. Before opening your phone, sit in stillness. Write down one thing you're grateful for, one thing you want to embody, and one thing you will release. Not to impress anyone, just to clear your inner space. Think of it as sweeping the floor before the guests arrive. You're not fixing life, you're making space for it. If you wait until life is calm to find calm, you'll wait forever. But if you practice calm before the storm, you carry shelter within you. That's what Stoic rituals offer. They're not rules, they're reminders that you are not your fear, that you are not your schedule, that your presence is the most powerful response you have to everything you can't control. Worry fades when you return to what is steady, and the steadiest thing you own is your own attention. Place it wisely, return to it daily. Let it lead you not to a perfect life, but to a peaceful one. 6. Detach from praise and blame. Live by inner standards. You spend more time than you realize performing, adjusting your words, measuring your tone, editing yourself mid-sentence to avoid being misunderstood. You want to be seen the right way, kind, competent, agreeable. So you bend, you soften your edges. You try to guess what others want from you and give them just enough to stay liked. But underneath the performance, something shifts. Your peace begins to depend on how you're received. And suddenly, your self-worth is no longer yours. It belongs to everyone else. This is one of the quietest forms of anxiety, living for approval. And it's deeply exhausting, because no matter how carefully you shape yourself, someone will still disapprove. Someone will misread you. Someone won't like you. The more you chase validation, the more you silence your inner voice. You start living reactively, constantly scanning the room for cues, shaping your identity based on shifting opinions. The more you please, the more you disappear. The Stoics warned against this trap. Epictetus said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Not because you are, but because improvement requires friction, and friction rarely pleases a crowd. The Stoic doesn't chase applause. He follows principle. He lives by a compass, not a weather vane. When others praise him, he doesn't get drunk on it. When they blame him, he doesn't collapse. Why? Because his self-respect doesn't come from noise. It comes from alignment. Think of your self-worth as a tree. If its roots run deep, grounded in values, character, and truth, then no storm of opinion can uproot it. But if it grows only in surface approval, every gust shakes it. Every disapproving look becomes a crisis. Every silence feels like rejection. The tree stands, but barely. The wind owns it. To reclaim your peace, you have to reclaim your standards, not the ones given to you, the ones you choose. Ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be when no one is watching? What values do I protect, even when they cost me comfort? What truth do I refuse to betray, even if it disappoints someone? These aren't abstract questions, they're anchors. When you live by your own integrity, the external becomes less powerful. Praise feels good, but it doesn't define you. Criticism stings, but it doesn't break you. In practical terms, this means noticing when you start editing yourself just to be liked. It means pausing before you say yes to something that feels off. It means letting someone misunderstand you without rushing to fix their perception. It means choosing truth over comfort, even if your voice shakes. Because every time you stay true to yourself, you build a kind of quiet confidence that doesn't need permission. This isn't rebellion, it's maturity. It's knowing that your peace is too important to outsource, that you are not here to impress but to embody, that the more you align with your own values, the less approval you need, and the less you need, the freer you become. Not louder, just steadier, just clearer. Praise and blame will come and go. Let them, but don't let them own your center. That belongs to you. And once you protect it, you'll start to notice something rare. The people who stay are those who see you clearly, because you finally had the courage to be clear with yourself. 7. Embrace imperfection. It's the path to growth. There's a quiet pressure that follows many people, even in small moments. The need to say the perfect thing, to look the right way, to make the perfect decision, the perfect plan, the perfect life. And when things don't go that way, the mind turns inward like a blade. You criticize yourself for the missed detail, the hesitation, the stumble. You replay it, rehearse it, rewrite it in your head. You tell yourself you'll feel at peace once everything's in place. But that day never comes, because perfection is not peace. It's delay in disguise. The Stoics never promised a flawless life. What they offered instead was a clear one. They knew the world doesn't need your perfection. It needs your presence. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire and still reminded himself, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you say, think, and do. That kind of urgency doesn't leave room for self-rejection. It calls for self-honesty. You're not here to perform. You're here to practice. Think of life like a garden in mid-growth. Some flowers bloom on time. Others struggle through the dirt. There are weeds you'll miss and leaves that wilt no matter what you do. But the garden is not a failure. It's alive. It's honest. And so are you. You were not designed to bloom in every season. You were built to grow slowly, deeply, sometimes invisibly. Progress doesn't need applause. It needs patience. Anxiety feeds on perfectionism. The more you demand flawless outcomes, the more fragile you become. The smallest disruption feels like a threat. A misstep turns into a crisis. You become afraid to start, afraid to be seen, afraid to make a sound. But if you shift the lens from performance to process, something softens. You start seeing mistakes not as shame, but as feedback. You stop treating delays as failure and start using them as recalibration. The Stoic path is not about looking strong. It's about becoming strong. By facing yourself as you are and walking anyway. By telling the truth even when it feels messy. By admitting when you're wrong without collapsing. It's the strength to keep going, not because you've mastered everything, but because you've stopped needing to. Here's one thing you can do. Each night before you sleep, write down one thing that didn't go as planned. Don't justify it. Don't hide from it. Just face it. Then ask, what did this teach me? What will I do differently tomorrow? This isn't weakness, it's structure. It's how you train your mind to stop fearing error and start building wisdom. Because wisdom doesn't come from getting it right. It comes from engaging fully with what is real. Let go of the idea that you have to earn rest. You have to fix everything before you can be kind to yourself. That you need to become someone else before you're worthy of peace. You are not a project to be completed. You are a person being shaped. And that shaping doesn't happen in the highlight reel. It happens in the mundane, in the missteps, in the small, steady decisions to show up again. Perfection will always be out of reach, but presence is always available. And when you choose that, choose to live in the truth of your imperfect process, you'll find that peace doesn't arrive one day as a reward. It grows slowly, daily, in the space where self-rejection ends and self-respect begins. 8. Live one day well, then repeat. You don't break down because of what's happening now. You break down because your mind is split between everything you regret and everything you fear. One part of you is stuck in yesterday, reliving what should have gone differently. The other is racing into tomorrow, building a list of problems that don't even exist yet. Meanwhile, the only place where your life is actually unfolding, this moment, is being ignored. And that's how worry wins. Not with disaster, with distraction. The Stoics understood that time can become a kind of trap. When your thoughts live too far from the present, your nervous system starts responding to ghosts. You feel pressure to fix things that can't be fixed and control things that haven't happened. Marcus Aurelius didn't tell himself to figure everything out. He told himself to live this day well, because this day was the only one he was guaranteed. Think of your life like a garden path. You don't need to walk the whole thing at once. You only need to take the next step. But if you keep staring at the horizon or looking back over your shoulder, you'll trip. You'll miss what's blooming right now. That's what living fully in one day means. Not shrinking your goals, not forgetting your responsibilities, but learning how to focus your energy where it actually matters, on what you can touch, shape, and change today. Worry thrives in mental multitasking. It feeds on scattered thoughts. But peace sharpens your focus. It reminds you that your power has a location, and that location is now. When you give your best presence to this day, this hour, this task, you stop borrowing anxiety from tomorrow. You stop recycling pain from the past. You move from overwhelm to clarity, not by controlling everything, but by honoring what's in front of you. Start simply. When you wake up, ask one question: what will make today meaningful? Don't think in years, think in hours. Choose one act of purpose, one habit of calm, one moment of truth. You don't need a perfect routine. You need presence. The kind that keeps you anchored when life pulls hard in every direction. The kind that reminds you that peace isn't hiding in the distance. It's buried under the clutter of what you're trying to manage all at once. And when you end your day, reflect. Not to judge yourself, but to clear space. Ask, did I live today like it mattered? If yes, breathe in that peace. If no, don't spiral. Rest, recalibrate, and begin again. The Stoic doesn't expect flawless days. He expects alignment, he expects imperfection, and he meets both with composure. You don't need to figure everything out to feel grounded. You don't need to finish the race to take the next step. You only need to come back to the present, again and again, until being here becomes your habit. Until stillness becomes your default. Until your energy stops leaking into a future you can't reach and a past you can't change. So live today. Not as a warm-up for something better, but as something complete. Not because it will be easy, but because it's real. And when you honor what's real, worry loses its power. Bit by bit, moment by moment, day by day, every worry you carry is a weight you don't need to bear. Today, we've walked through the truth that anxiety is not always caused by life itself, but by how the mind clings to what it cannot control, replays what it cannot undo, and fears what hasn't yet come. And the Stoics showed us another way. Not a life free of problems, but a life built on clarity, presence, and emotional discipline. You've now seen that peace doesn't arrive as a gift. It grows through habit. When you train yourself to return to the present, when you pause before reacting, when you ground your emotions in reason instead of chaos, something shifts. You stop chasing happiness based on conditions. You begin to embody one shaped by intention. That is the heart of Stoic calm. Not detachment from life, but deep participation in it, moment by moment, without drowning in it. So I urge you not to just understand this lesson, but to practice it. Choose one small act of emotional self-mastery each day. Maybe it's breathing deeply before responding. Maybe it's letting go of a thought that no longer serves you. Maybe it's writing down what you can control and releasing what you can't. These tiny decisions, repeated with discipline, rewire your mindset and create a stability that no external event can shake. Let your calm be your power. Let your presence be your protection. And let each day become a quiet testament to your strength. If this message speaks to something inside you, I invite you to share your story in the comments. What's the thought you most need to let go of? What habit brings you back to stillness? Your words might be the guidance someone else is waiting for.